Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show All Things Moore County. Back in early March, we had Debbie Spurlock on as a guest. Debbie's practice is called Health is Wealth, and she is located in Southern Pines. She's a naturopathic pharmacist. Debbie has agreed to do a series of shows with us. She's a very compelling and very intelligent and very knowledgeable spokesperson. And back in early March, she did a show where she was painting broad strokes about her practice. And she came from a medical background, and so she has sort of pivoted midstream, and she's very candid. She's right to the point. There are no wasted words, and there's a ton of conviction in everything she says. So this is probably going to be the second of, I don't know, maybe another 3 shows this year, where we're going to go ahead and we're going to speak with you specifically about some of the things that you do. But it seems to me like every time we talk about health, just the question, what is your definition of health? You can get 40 different answers. So the misconceptions about health and medicine and what makes us well and what the definition of wellness is such an open conversation.
Well, Bill, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing me back.
Oh, yeah.
I had a good time
before,
and I look forward to the next shows. So getting into this right away, the definition of health is essentially the absence of disease. But you can look those up in Google or Webster or whomever. And the absence of disease and healthy in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit are some of the other definitions.
Right.
And health is, as you said, just thrown around as this casual term. And we have a healthcare system, and we have healthcare workers, and we have healthcare teams, and somehow that is this well-rounded term that encompasses everything from your toenail fungus to your hair falling out.
Right.
And are you happy or not? Well, health, and as my office is titled, Health is Wealth Management Systems, if you are healthy, meaning you have absence of disease, but that's not just an absence of a diagnosis. That means no inflammation in your body. You can move. Studying health and being healthy has a term of vitality, a tone of vitality attached to it. Getting up in the morning, feeling good, waking up and ready to go for your day.
Right.
Getting good sleep at night instead of, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
Yeah. You must have seen me last night.
Are you not sleeping, Bill?
Oh, my. I walk around the living room to see if the furniture has rearranged itself at 3 in the morning. But go ahead.
We can work on that.
Okay.
You're designed to be healthy.
Yeah.
So you have all of these opportunities for health. Well, our current healthcare system is a system of disease. They study disease. All of the medical schools, the nursing schools, the pharmacy schools. It's all about how does disease affect the body. My philosophy is very opposite. As I have a creationist philosophy, then that philosophy is you are already designed healthy. And what are the habits that you're doing that take you off track, that mess up your health, that make you have all of that inflammation in your body? You weren't born with it. As a baby, traditionally, and it's a known, babies sleep a lot. So something happened along the journey of usually bad habits. And we have a society here in America that is entitled, and they are entitled to convenience and good health. And then there's also an attitude of, I'm not responsible for my health. Well, who is ultimately responsible for your health? Obviously, the individual. Then we go to the next step, and the individual goes, yeah, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing that's causing all of these problems. And then they say, I'm going to my doctor because I have insurance. So that healthcare provider sees that person, and that healthcare provider then gives them a prescription. And here is a pill for your sleep, and take this every night. Then down that path, they go, I'm addicted to this pill. I can't sleep unless I take this pill every night. So they're still in the same quandary, unknowing of what the side effects are, and still in the quandary of not sleeping except through the pill. And then it just becomes a cycle down this path, and they feel like they have no options. But you do have options, and that's where I come in.
Are the conditions of people, cancer, arthritis, vascular issues, is the common denominator inflammation in all of them? You mentioned inflammation.
Inflammation is one of the symptoms that alerts us that something is wrong in the body.
Okay.
So with cancer is caused by an injury to the immune system. Always. And cancer always has an infection associated with it. And if you have a diagnosis of cancer, that has been going on a long time before you ever got the diagnosis.
Okay.
And cancer creates inflammation.
Okay.
So the inflammation didn't cause the cancer. The infection caused the cancer. Okay, so let's talk. Want to talk about breast cancer or one of those? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So a person goes to their doctor. They find a lump under their arm or in their breast or in their neck, and they become concerned, and the scans are performed and the biopsy is done, and it comes back and it says, you have these cells and it is cancer. And then they label it some, I don't know, BR, whatever, cancer. That did not happen by coincidence or random. That happened most of the time because of an infection. And the first way that you get an infection in that area is almost always those people have put an infection into their deltoid muscle, right there by those lymph nodes. So they get a vaccine, they inject it into their arm, and then time down the road, that lymph node swells up. Well, see, there's an infection from that vaccine. That virus that's in the vaccine
Right.
will lodge into those lymph nodes. Then the lymph node swells, and then the immune system tries to cover it up and build a wall around it.
Okay.
So it builds a wall, and now we call that a tumor. Inside that tumor, they biopsy it, and they go, oh, yeah, those lymph nodes are swollen up, and the cells are damaged. And so they say, we must cut that out. You can do chemo and radiation and surgery. Oh, my goodness, here's the panic. When you started down this pathway, there's an infection in you, and nothing is ever said about clearing out the infection. So papillomavirus, there's an infection. People who have mono sometimes wind up with Epstein-Barr. Well, Epstein-Barr tends to have a very negative impact on the thyroid. Now they have thyroid cancer. Most of the time, there is something that triggers the immune system to react, and that reaction is inflammation.
You mentioned getting vaccinated because they're putting a virus in you to protect you, correct? Is that?
That is what the line is, and that's what people are told, yes.
Is that so? Is that true? Is that not? I mean, you get a flu shot. They basically put it into your system so to protect you during flu season. Is that? I need to. I mean, I don't know. There's so much information out there. Everyone has a different understanding. I mean, is there an anti-vaccination posture that you are saying you have? First time we've talked about it.
In my research, I have not found that vaccines have saved the world. Vaccines have caused so much harm and a lot of damage to the population. This last case in point, COVID. Look what this vaccine did. When Dr. Deborah Birx got on the TV in March of 2020, and she made a statement that almost made my knees buckle. And I was watching her with Dr. Fauci and President Trump, and she got to the microphone and she made a few comments, and then she said, "We're so lucky to have HIV." And I thought, what a strange statement. She said, well, I mean, because that's where all of the research has come for COVID. And that vaccine that they produced in 6 weeks
Right.
Came out of the HIV research. Well, backing up a little bit, that vaccine was an offshoot of the HIV vaccines that the industries had been working on, and no one would take their vaccine. In 2015, the pharmaceutical companies, the different ones that had been working on HIV, the mRNA virus, they had research, and they were wanting to do clinical trials. And there was no one in their right mind in this country who would participate in their clinical trials. So one of the conferences that I attended in 2015, this very smart PharmD, he was up there presenting, and he said, there's not really anything we can do with HIV at this time because it's been tabled. We can't do the clinical trials, so they've taken it over to Asia, and they're going to do the clinical trials there. Well, they couldn't get integrity, and those people wouldn't even participate in the clinical trials. Even if they paid them, they wouldn't come back for the blood draws and the trials. And so HIV got tabled, and then voila. We come up with a new mRNA virus. And by the way, we already have a vaccine, and we'll have it ready in 6 weeks.
Right.
Where do you think that vaccine came from?
Yeah, that was very quick.
Wasn't it, though?
That was unbelievably quick.
Yes. And Dr. Birx stands there and goes, we're so lucky to have HIV. And I'm just looking at this thinking, what a random statement to say.
Uh-huh.
But in my research and through my pharmacy program, we studied HIV 6 ways to Sunday. I mean, you know, the reverse transcriptase and the, you know, all of it, my whole program. So here comes COVID, and it's an mRNA virus, and we already have a vaccine, and we're so lucky.
I got you.
So then they have this global trial. They have a trial, a clinical trial on the globe, and they convince people to take this vaccine. And then look at the ramifications.
What were the ramifications?
Oh my goodness! The stroke, the kidney failures, the drop dead suddenly. Then people got COVID.
But the industry promotes the vaccines.
Follow the money.
Okay. You're supposed to get it every 6 or 9 months or 10 months. Not just one, but I think by now 3 or 4 or 5, right? And you're just putting
more viruses right into your arm. And see, people think that a vaccine has just one virus in it. It doesn't have just one virus. It has multiple viruses. Did you know that your flu shot has diphtheria in it?
No.
So that's going to help augment the opening of the cell membrane for that virus to move into the cell. Then your immune system can't get it. So if you get a cough and a cold, you inhale that, it goes in your nose. You have a mucosal lining in your nose, and that's going to help catch some of the dust particles or the virus or whatever comes in. That's a first line of defense. Or you eat something, you eat some really bad food. Your stomach acid is there to help protect you and dissolve and kill these microorganisms. You get an infection or flu, you recover. You tend to recover. If you put this virus into the muscle in your shoulder, the lines of defense are not there to protect you. So this virus will lie dormant in your cells, and eventually your immune system will start to attack it.
Is that the same thing with the shingles vaccine? I mean, you go to the doctor, and they're marketing flyers and pamphlets. Time to get your shingles. You're X amount of years old. This is when This is what the industry has taught us, and we think we're doing something good for ourselves. Are we not?
I am not a fan of that vaccine. I have seen people take that shingles vaccine, and then their health declines rapidly. And shingles can be dealt with if you get it. Our children used to get chicken pox.
Right.
Well, that would create immunity in these adults because their own immune system would see or be familiar with this. Then they would have this safeguard from their shingles, from getting shingles.
Right.
They would be safe from, they would have the herpes virus in them. Well, the virus is an opportunist. It will lie dormant, and it will flare when the person's immune system is compromised or a lot of stress in their life or a variety of reasons, maybe whatever is going on, they're nutritionally malnourished, whatever. Okay. When that shingles flares, your immune system goes into action. And some people go to their doctor and they get an antiviral, which helps them significantly. There are other things that we use in my office that help significantly to reduce that and the immune system to recover quickly. When the adults are exposed to these children who have chickenpox, their immune system safeguards them. Now that we don't have that, we have adults that had chickenpox in their younger years. They still have the virus floating around, or they have other exposures of whatever, and they tend to have a flare. But the vaccine industry, the vaccines are based on fear. You want this vaccine because you're fearful that you will get this infection.
Right.
You will get flu. You will get shingles. You will get whatever, chickenpox. Your body is already designed to heal itself and recover. And there are so many things that you can do to nourish your body so your immune system does what it's already intact to do.
Okay. I've just had 3 shifts in my consciousness, and I have to take a deep breath here. We're going to come back in the second set. I want to talk to you about what your background was before you became a naturopathic pharmacist, because I think that will lend some credence to your perspective. Our guest is Debbie Spurlock, Health is Wealth Management Systems. She is located in Southern Pines. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Moore County, our second set with Debbie Spurlock. And after listening to some of the comments that you made in the first set, you're right, I have a furrow in my brow. I guess I've bought into the propaganda or the way we've been raised since kids. Our parents set the tone for us as we're kids. We go to the doctor, we have our annual checkups, we get the measles, the vaccine for the measles has been in the news lately in Texas. Kids have been dying. And I listen to our Robert Kennedy, for instance, and I think to myself, I'm not 100% confident in some of the things he says seem so opposite of the traditional ways we have been grown up. It's so ingrained in us. It's too late. I've had vaccines since I was a kid. So, I'm sure you treat patients who come in who have had vaccines.
I see a lot of vaccine-injured children.
Vaccine-injured children.
Yes. And those parents are so grieved, and they feel so guilty because they went along with the vaccine schedule.
Right.
Okay, let's do a little history here. Just back up. In my school, when I was a kid, in Indiana growing up, I grew up in a county school, and we had 12 grades and kindergarten. So kindergarten through 12th grade, and there were roughly 90 to 100 kids per grade. In that school, they had a special needs educator. And there was one woman, and she had one class. And most years, she had roughly 15 children in that class. And they were of all ages, from kindergarten to 12th grade. Those children worked with that one teacher. She worked with those children, and they had their own room, their own location in the building. In this school, there were roughly 25 to 30 children per class. So first grade all the way through 12th, or, through junior high at that time. And then the high school, they changed classes. So in that, you would have 100 children, and none of them had asthma, allergies, social affective disorder, or defiant disorder, or ADD or ADHD. None of them had this. The children who had special needs were with this lady. Her name was Mrs. Stewart, sweet lady. And so you had all of these children. So we come forward now, the years from the 70s to 2025. Now we have 15 children at least in every single classroom. So half of the children in the school, in each classroom, has special needs. They have anything from eczema and allergies and asthma and whatever digestive disorder.
Yep.
All the way down.
Yep.
So now we need all of these teachers who are skilled and trained to work with these children who are special needs.
Right.
How did we come from all of these communities across the country where you had maybe less than 1%
Right.
of children in school who had special needs?
My answer your question: diet, food, processed foods. I guess the foods have changed over the years.
So all of these children who are allergic to eggs, why in the world would they suddenly? For eons, no one has been allergic to eggs. Well, a lot of your vaccines are grown on chicken eggs. And they become sensitized to what's in the egg. Now they have a histamine reaction. Peanuts and peanut oil, that's also used.
Right.
We have people who are so fearful of peanuts and nuts in general.
Right.
They panic. They won't even be in the room
That's right.
if there are pecan rolls out on the counter at a meeting. They're just like, I'll go into anaphylaxis.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the world did that come from? When people have eaten nuts for, what, eons?
Are you saying it's from vaccines?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so Bobby Kennedy may not be a doctor, but he is at least pounding the drum, going, we have to look at this.
Uh-huh.
What is going on when you have 50% of the children in any school that are special needs? And that was not so 50 years ago. We have to take a look at this. And the food industry is a big part of that. And there are very good moms out there. They are conscientious. They are feeding their children, giving them wholesome food, non-GMO, no chemical dyes,
Right.
and on and on.
Right.
So I guess I saw a little cartoon, and it said, I wonder why people are questioning Bobby Kennedy so harshly, and they didn't have the same questions for Dr. Fauci. You just kind of got to shrug your shoulders and go, wow, what in the world?
So there's a bias, is there not, about the medical industry that we have all sort of absorbed over the years? I mean, because the bias towards, to Kennedy, there's more negativity than there is positivity, I sense. The press, they have painted him in a corner. I listen to him, and I don't have confidence in him. But you're saying you should listen to him, and why was Fauci not as criticized?
True.
Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
So Fauci brings out, gain of function research and vaccines that haven't been proven to be safe
Right.
or effective.
Right.
And people line up and they're like, well, I believe that this is good. This has nothing to do with belief. You can believe in the tooth fairy if you want. This isn't about belief. This is about, we have people who are being injured by these viruses and being experimented on, essentially. That vaccine had not gotten even through all of the clinical trials, and then it was used in the population.
Western medicine, they're huge advocates of vaccinations, of vaccines. They have a seasonal lineup for everybody, depending on your age. At this age, you should be inoculated against this or that. So the machinery behind it all is in full force. There would have to be a huge cultural shift to change it. I mean, it would take generations to change it.
Well, there are a lot of parents who are choosing to not vaccinate their children.
Right.
And they're the ones who have been talking with me have told me about the flack that they have caught from their pediatrician.
Right. Right.
And I've heard some pretty significant stories that these parents were harshly treated because they said, no, I think that vaccine is not good for my child.
Right.
And that parent is ultimately in charge of that child. And they're being bullied in these offices. Not all. There are some medical providers who are going, I think you're right. This is your choice. You choose. Good medical providers who are saying it's okay to choose. And then there are parents who say, well, we're going to do a delayed schedule. We're going to get past this 15-month mark, and we may do the MMR later, but we're not doing it on the schedule because they have friends who have autistic children.
Right.
Our media is very closely aligned with the pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
And they have a dialogue that they're presenting to the people.
Right.
And some people have been very naive in trusting the pharmaceutical companies, and their trust has been betrayed.
So time goes so fast when you're talking. The difference between the health of people in our country in the 1950s and 60s versus today, you're saying it's primarily due to vaccinations / also diet and
Yes.
processed foods?
Yes.
But it starts with the vaccinations?
Yes.
Okay. When we come back in the third set, I want people to know that you started out in the Western medical industry, I mean, as a pharmacist. And I want you to talk about your experience because you've completely pivoted, right? You've gone to
Yes.
the other side. How many years were you on the a medical pharmacist?
Well, I've been a pharmacist for over 25 years.
But when
And
did you make the transition to?
I started working naturopathy in 2013.
Okay, so half and half, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay. Debbie Spurlock is our guest. Her practice is located in Ice House Square in Southern Pines. Health is Wealth Management. And I do want to talk in the last set about some of the things that we can do going forward to help people who come to you who have experienced a lot of the medical, the vaccinations, the medical treatments, and how they are righting their ship. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our third set with Debbie Spurlock of Health is Wealth Management. Debbie has spent the first two sets talking about some things that will shake a lot of people up in terms of their perceptions of what they have been brought up with most of their lives. And you started, Debbie, you were a pharmacist, you were in the medical industry. What were your experiences, and what was it that caused you to make the switch to the other side?
Okay. I watched people in their journeys of disease, and they had hopes, and they spent a lot of money going to their doctor, getting surgeries, getting pharmaceuticals, and I watched them struggle to where they were never healed. And in pharmacy school, I spent a lot of time studying disease. I studied disease. How does a disease affect the body? So we had segments on diabetes, on cardiovascular, on arthritis, on any disease that's out there, because we had to match the pharmaceutical to that disease. And we would match a pharmaceutical and study how that chemical would manipulate the physiology. It would change the blood pressure. It would change the kidney function. It would help you to get rid of pooling water in your ankles, and on and on. So we studied disease. So coming forward, watching people in the hospital pharmacy as well as in the retail pharmacy, they maintained their disease, and their disease was managed. And it was disease management, not health management. It was disease, and how does the disease progress, and how does the disease cause deterioration? And the disease is getting worse, or the cancer is getting worse. It's spreading. And the study of disease is what our country is very good at doing. And I got really burnt out watching disease. And I kept saying, there is something so wrong with this system. One more pill, more side effects, more adverse events, more doctor visits, more insurance on this whole industry of healthcare. It's an industry.
So in a nutshell, what you're saying is our industry treats symptoms and not causes.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's right.
That's disease management.
That's correct.
Yeah.
If you get better and you no longer have diabetes,
Right.
then that money train dries up. You're not needing insulin and whatever the current pill, glyburide or whatever. And then if you're better and cured, which is not allowed to say, because as a disclaimer, I always say everything I tell you is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are going to a medical provider and getting pharmaceuticals to manage your disease. All of the commercials that you see on TV, they are not telling you that it will cure your disease. However, I did see one that came up about GERD, and they're saying that people are cured from their GERD. Well, in my line of work, I see people who no longer have GERD, and they had esophageal reflux for a while. But once we changed their routine and helped them get rid of some of their bad habits, their body healed on its own.
Bad habits meaning diet?
Yeah. So if you're going to eat a Domino's pizza at 9 o'clock at night and watch TV until 1 a.m., I'm pretty sure you're going to feel crummy tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And people do that consistently because of unawareness. So bad habits are most of your disease causers. They get you the labels. Any number of them. The college students that are all sick, they have such bad habits. They move away from home. They're free to come and go as they please. So they are up late at night. They're eating Hardee's at 2 a.m. and they have hangovers, and then they start down this deterioration and wind up then later with the disease.
So then I could imagine that part of your initial meetings or counseling with people who come to see you have to do with lifestyle habits. You
Absolutely.
have to track them to know how they live their lives and what they do.
Mm-hmm. Helping people understand cause and effect.
Right.
I go through how the digestive system works and how it is in sync with a circadian rhythm. And your organs go through certain patterns every day. And at 2 a.m., your gallbladder and your liver are going through a regenerative cycle. And if you're eating, a steak and baked potato at midnight, your gallbladder and liver are pretty bogged down, and they're not going to go through that cleaning out, regeneration, and repair while you're sleeping. So we do a lot of educating and getting you empowered so that you can take responsibility for your health. We come to this industry of healthcare, and you go to your doctor, and now that provider is responsible for your health. You're a bystander, and your insurance pays for that visit and pays your provider to care for you. And now you're still a bystander. And you go to the pharmacy where your insurance or Medicare D pays for your prescription, and you're just this innocent bystander with all of these people who are supposed to love you and care for you. And I think you're very naive to believe that.
One of the most popular treatments for conditions as people get older are blood pressure medications. There are so many of them, right? And then the argument may be on the other side, well, if you don't take these blood pressure medications, your blood pressure is going to become dangerously high. So with people like that, do you try to detox them, and how do you start that process of weaning them away from the medicines and assuring them that their health, maybe you can't even answer this, would be okay without the meds?
Well, first of all, I do not take anybody off of their pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
I am not allowed.
Okay.
I am not qualified to
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
I counsel people about their pharmaceuticals. I'm mandated by law as a pharmacist to counsel you about your medications.
Okay.
So I can tell you how to take your medicine, about the side effects, the adverse events, how it's going to make you feel, what to watch for, all of that. Now, I educate you about your medicine. And then I tell people, if you plan to come off of your thyroid medication, you need to call your provider and tell them that you're going to do that. That way, if something happens and you go up to the ER, they go, oh, well, you're taking this dose of medicine, and then they're surprised to find out you aren't. So you communicate. Now, as a responsible, free-thinking adult in this country, you are not required by law to take pharmaceuticals. And fortunately, you're not required by law to have vaccines. But you have an agreement in that industry with your provider, the insurance company, and the pharmacy that dispenses those medicines that you're taking that. So if you come to me and you are walking away from the medical industry and saying, I'm not getting better, I will help you. But I always encourage the people, you communicate with your provider if you plan to come off of this medication so they can put that in your chart.
Gotcha.
So we're safe. I mean, we don't do some knee-jerk reaction and tell you,
Right.
you have a 12-year-old that's a type 1 diabetic, oh, just go ahead and discontinue the insulin. That's absurd. We wouldn't dare do that.
Okay.
Never.
People, time is just going so fast with you as a guest. People can go to your website, naturalhealthmanagement.com. They can reach you at your office at 910-725-2226. A lot of what you've spoken about today is you've gotten my attention in a way that some of the anti-vaxxers who use a platform, it doesn't resonate. But the way you present it, it does resonate, more so. And I think it probably will with other people who are listening, people who maybe intellectualize the medical industry, and they try to be proactive, and they try to do what they believe is correct. But some of our beliefs are being challenged by a lot of what you're saying. And for that, it's, I'll think about this now for a while, where you've shifted my consciousness a little bit. But we want to have you back on. We want to talk about, there's so many other things that you do, and I'd love to have a show with you where we talk about situations that have come up, where people have come in from all different types of medical conditions, and what you've done to work with them to get them from here to there. I think people would like, that might be the next natural step.
Okay, great.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I've asked a couple of the folks if they would mind for me to share their story, and they said, sure, go ahead.
That would be great. So we're gonna plan to do that again, perhaps this summer. We'll have you back on. Dorothy, maybe we should just change the show, give it to her, and give her a weekly show. She'd have a lot of call-ins, I think. Don't you think?
Oh, that would be fun. We would take call-ins.
That's right. I wish we could do that. Debbie Spurlock, thanks for joining us. Health is Wealth Management. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of months. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.
Thanks, Bill.